What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another web development video. Today I'm talking about my experience that I've had after my coding bootcamp. So I checked out my email and I knew it was coming up. Tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of me completing a coding bootcamp, and it's the date, the literal 1 year date from the day that I got the email saying that I passed the final test. So I want to go through my experience, what that's been like since that coding bootcamp, and it's been an entire year. So to start off, I'll jump into it here. My backstory with that: I was still working a full-time job at that point. I did an online coding bootcamp, which meant I was doing about 30 hours of coursework on top of a 40-hour a week contract job that was not development. I was a product manager. I had a commute in there, 2 to 2.5 hour commute, as well as I had a couple of very small and still very small kids at that point. So I was really busy. I did most of my coding in the evenings and nights, as well as on the weekends. I would dedicate the entire weekend to development and, like I said, evenings and nights. So anyways, at that point when I graduated, still working, and it took me a whole month at that point to create a portfolio and to recreate my resume to update it. So spent a lot of time going through those things, making sure my portfolio looked really good, making sure that my LinkedIn looked really good, and then making sure that I was ready to start applying to jobs. And when I was ready, first thing I did is I started reaching out to my network, my dev friends, to make sure that my portfolio looked good, my LinkedIn looked good, and my resume, like, hey, could you give me tips and stuff like this? And I got some good feedback on there. So after that, I went through my network and started talking to anybody that I knew that might know of anybody that had an open position. I did end up getting an interview out of that. I wasn't hired from that interview, but it was a great experience. I got to talk to a hiring manager and a recruiter and do the entire process, and even went in and wrote some whiteboard code and talked to the development team. Learned a lot from that experience. But after I had gone through my network contacts, I basically just started applying to positions. So from there, I did get a lot of interviews, just blind applications to places, and I got a lot of traction with contract recruiters. But ultimately, I didn't want to take a contract job, and I got hired in late July. So I completed my code bootcamp in late March and then got hired in late July. And there's a month in there where I was not applying to jobs at all. So at this point, I told my boss, my current boss, hey, I've got a new job, I'm moving on, and put in my 2 weeks. And I just want to say that I didn't apply at my current position because I was a contractor as a hired gun, and I did not want to lose my position and be completely unemployed. So I made sure to not ask my in-work network there. I was a little nervous about losing my position. Anyways, so at this point, now I'm going to be hired on as a Ruby on Rails dev. First thing I did was start taking some courses on Ruby language, which I wasn't familiar with, and as well as Ruby on Rails, which I wasn't familiar with. Went through a Udemy course, started building a lot of projects just to learn things. So after I got settled into that job, I had the goal of creating a blog with a post once a week for an entire year. So I started that side project up, started creating that, and at the same time I'm learning a lot about Git, Ruby on Rails, general workflow, how to be a software engineer and stuff like that. And after a couple of months, I realized that, hey, I want to make sure that I'm learning and progressing and going towards being a mid-level engineer. And I spoke with my manager, and we came up with basically an outline of how to do that, basically a good pathway for me to get there. So just to move from junior to mid-level and learn a lot of stuff along the way. So at this point, I'm working on Ruby on Rails quite a bit. I'm getting pretty settled in my job. Knowing that I had already started a blog, I started the tech blog at work, so that was a cool accomplishment that I got to do there. And then somewhere around the fall, October or so, I decided, hey, I should probably join tech Twitter. So I did that. I had 0 followers, so I managed to build it up and meet some cool people on there, make some connections. And the reason I mention this is if you are wondering about coding bootcamp and all that stuff, or trying to get into tech, you need to be on tech Twitter. Go get on Twitter and find that there's a really positive community around it. Go find those people. You can make a lot of great connections, and they can help you out with a lot of questions and point you towards resources. And that's the reason I mentioned it, because that was something I missed out in my boot camp. I had no idea it was something I was missing out. So at that point, it's now December, January, and I started thinking about, well, I've still got my blog going. This is just a few months ago. I was thinking about, well, maybe I also want to try to do some videos. I'd done a few videos before. I used them as supplemental features for blog articles and stuff that I was writing. Then I decided, hey, I want to actually try to make some YouTube videos. So fast forward to now, that's where I'm at now. I'm in the middle of my 30 days of video challenges. I think this is sort of a little over 2 weeks right now. Right now in my position, I'm still working on Ruby on Rails stuff. A little bit less on that. We're now working on some Angular features. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. That has been kind of a year in summary post-coding boot camps. Upcoming goals that I have, one thing that I wasn't able to do as much of is build more personal projects with things. I've had 2 or 3 really good ideas. I got one of them live. The other 2 I haven't been able to get to yet. And the reason for that is because I realized that I can only have so many side projects, and the side project that I have right now, I have 2 of them. Right, one is making these videos, and 2 is my dev blog. And those things take up a lot of time, and I think that learning through those things are probably better for me than just creating a lot of projects. Not to say that I'm not still creating projects. I am still taking a tutorial every single day and make a little progress on it, but I haven't been able to get some of my other side project ideas, up there. I want to do like a fantasy football thing for my fantasy football friends and stuff like that. But I'll get to that stuff eventually. But the point is that I still have a lot of goals. And so basically my main ones that I have right now are to complete the ones that I have and then start getting back into side projects and stuff like that, so I can keep learning and getting better as a developer and eventually get to that mid-level section mid-level position that I want to be. Then I'll get there eventually. It's just a time thing, right? Anyway, that has been my entire year post coding bootcamp. And like I said, I did an online one. If you have questions about online boot camps, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. And if you like this video, please subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.